Well, the Eastern Cape Rugby Club Rugby Tournament, the Super 14, kicks off today after a 2-year break due to COVID-19 pandemic. This is the province's premier club rugby tournament and runs for 9 weeks. Our reporter Abongile Jantjies is at the tournament and is bringing us up to speed of what's happening there. Abongile, a very good morning to you. Exciting times indeed. I guess people are excited to get back into play. Talk to us about how important a day like this is for not only for the players but the community at large.
Well, Blaine, 2 years has been long enough for the spectators who are yearning to return to the field to watch sports, Blaine. Some of them were saying yesterday during the launch of this tournament that it's too long, it's been too long, and they find themselves unfit being at home and not having the joy to be watching rugby on a face-to-face level, Blaine. The sports department here in the Eastern Cape is running programs to lure the national government to ensure that we return fully to the stadiums and ensure that there is COVID compliance whilst we are at the sporting fields. A hive of activities is expected here today when a number of matches will be played for coming from under 10s to under 19s, and even the adults will be playing, Blaine, and they are saying that this time is the right time. Even the weather is on their side. But to tell us more about the proceedings that we can expect here, I'm now joined by our former colleague, Busisiwe James Mandacha, who now is the spokesperson of the sports department here in the Eastern Cape. A very good morning to you, ma'am, and thank you for joining us. Kindly tell us about the measures that you've put in place to lure people to return to the stages as you're running such programs.
Good morning, Abo. Good morning, former colleague and the viewers at home. Well, indeed, we are trying to do everything we can to make sure that we return to play. And key to that is to make sure that we comply to the COVID-19 regulations put in place to make sure that everyone is safe when they come to our stadiums. And you were talking about the spectators. Even for the players, it has been a hurdle having to play on fields without any spectators watching them. Particularly this tournament, the Super 14 Rugby tournament here in the Eastern Cape, has been at a halt for 2 years. We have not been able to host the tournament because of COVID-19 and the pandemic. And so though it has been running for 11 years, for the past 2 years, we have not been able to host it. And so both the spectators and the players have been hard hit by the pandemic. And so returning back to play, what we've made sure is that everyone who is on the stadium today is someone who has been vaccinated, fully vaccinated. And we're also using this platform to encourage patrons to go and vaccinate. Even the spectators are going to have to produce their certificate of vaccination. But also inside here at the stadium, people would have to adhere to those COVID-19 regulations, because we want to show the national government and the Command Council of COVID-19 that we are complying and that we can return to play and make sure that everyone is safe and we do not become the center or the spread of COVID-19 in the province. And so we're very excited to have to host this tournament, and we're hoping that the 9-week-long tournament will be a success.
We see when there are no spectators, sponsors who sponsor these programs tend to shy away because they are there to attract those who are in the field. So if it's only the teams that are playing, the teams and the tournaments get affected financially. What can you say about that?
Indeed, especially for our rural province, the province of the Eastern Cape, we struggle to get sponsorships. And so we have been trying, the MEC has been trying to lobby sponsors to say, let's come on board, let's support these teams. And it helps that when there are people who have come to watch, because then it creates demand. And we all know that brand owners want to see their brand out there. And we're very happy that through our Sports Confederation, we have been able to get into a partnership with the SABC to make sure that we broadcast some of these matches, 9 of these matches. And we are hoping that we'll then send a message to sponsors to say the Eastern Cape is open for business. We're open for negotiations. The MEC has got an open door policy. Come on board, we are looking at everyone. But also, another struggle that we face is the issue of women's sports. Whilst you might have sponsors supporting rugby, men's sport, but you have them dwindling into coming to support women. And so we are calling on sponsors to say, let us create a conducive environment for both men and women and make sure that they are all equal in the face of the country, and that if you are able to come and support a male-dominated sport, also support a women-dominated sport. We have a tournament just now in February, the Geneva Sports Tournament, that is a women's sport, a women rugby tournament, where we are calling and still calling on the private sector to come on board, because we have picked up that the issue of gender-based violence and femicide can never be detached from how we as a society treat our women. If we are saying that men are more human than they, then we're sending a wrong message to the growing ones, but we're also sending a wrong message to men who continue to think that they are superior than women. And so it starts with us, how we treat women in the field of play, how we are able to make infrastructure and sports field available for men, but we are not able to do that. In some communities, we found that even though there is a field, but if women have to use that field and men also want to use that field, men will be prioritized more than women, because the society and the environment that we've created as a people dictates such that men think they are superior, and though it starts with the private sector coming on board to work with
Coming
government.
to this tournament, Busi, surely the Eastern Cape is battling with an issue of transformation, issues of nurturing that talent. So these 2 years and this tournament, it's been on hold for 2 years, and it's been used as a tool to identify talent. So there are those players who feel like, who are really saying that their time to play sports like rugby is really dwindling, and it's wasting their time, even though we should acknowledge the importance of COVID-19. So the issue of transformation still needs to be seen as if it's in a backlog with these 2 years that have been lost.
Indeed, the issue of transformation cuts across. It's not an Eastern Cape issue. It cuts across the whole country and the world at large, that sports needs to transform, in particular rugby. And whilst SARU is in charge of making sure that they put punishment or penalties to teams that do not have profiles that represent their transformation agenda, but also as the department, we're also doing our part to make sure that we feed into that and make sure that sport is transformed. Just yesterday, the MEC was talking to the two unions, the Eastern Cape Province Union and the Border Union, to say, yes, whilst this tournament has moved from where it was in terms of trying to make sure that there are teams from townships, there are clubs from rural areas, but there needs to be a deliberate agenda in terms of making sure that it is geographically spread across the province, that we begin to see other teams even from the deep rural areas, your Mkanduli, your OR Tambos, and it is not centered around Nelson Mandela Bay and Buffalo City, and saying that if they continue to move at the snail's pace in which they are moving, then the department will have no choice but to hold on to their funds. So where we put our money and hold this tournament, we make it clear that we have the interest of making sure that we develop sport. And whilst this competition is about the leagues that have taken place, about a strength of each team, but we need to have a plan of uplifting the teams that are in the rural areas, battling with infrastructure and all those things.
I thank you so much, ma'am. I'm looking forward to today.
Thank you.
Well, Blaine, that was Busisiwe Jimsana, the spokesperson for the Department of Arts and Culture here in the Eastern Cape, telling us about what we can expect here today. And surely it will be something that's worth enjoying for even us covering these hard-hit stories. At least today we get the chance to view some light stories on watching rugby on a face-to-face level. Blaine?
Speaking about hard hit, just watch that ball there, Abongile. I once took a knock to the head, not a pleasant sight. Abongile Jantjies. Appreciate your reporting, so check back with you a little later on. All right.